This episode of Delmarva Life is brought to you by Ocean City Department of Tourism.
Where else can you go to a #1 ranked arts and craft event? Listen to world-class music, walk down a boardwalk full of landmarks, eat food from iconic places, and take a stroll along the beach.
Why, Ocean City, of course, and this is the weekend you want to be here as the 41st annual Sunfest celebration takes over the inlet.
Peruse tents full of works of art, many of them handmade by Delmarva locals, all of them made with passion.
We have all this pretty glass, and it just makes you feel so good when you can see all this pretty glass and you're trying to figure out, should we make a bird or a dolphin or a hummingbird out of this? And it's like, oh.
With love.
We have respect for each other. She's my best friend. I'm glad she's my wife, but she's my best friend.
And with a flair of keeping tradition alive.
And people say to me, how can you have a business with this? And because it is a dying art, but there are people out there that really love to send note cards.
Sunfest is also a weekend for letting yourself be a kid again.
To remember the good times.
And to make new memories come alive.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's get this celebration and Delmarva Life started right now. Welcome to Delmarva Life Ocean City Sunfest 2015. I'm Lisa Bryant.
And I'm Sean Stryker. What better way to kick off the first weekend of fall than living and loving all this festival has to offer? Just because the calendar says summer is winding down, the fun certainly isn't in Ocean City.
I've always said there is life after Labor Day.
Ocean City Tourism Director Donna Abbott says for 41 years the town has embraced the arrival of the fall season with Sunfest.
Many, many years ago, once Labor Day came and went, this town was pretty quiet. You could shoot a cannon down the boardwalk and not hit another soul. So this event came to be, and it has grown in popularity and has helped people to discover that there's more to Ocean City than just your traditional summer season.
The celebration was born in the 1970s, but on a much smaller scale. It was also a 6-day event, so it was originally called Save 6 for September.
Back in 1975, a few business leaders got together and decided to celebrate the end of the summer season. It was the third weekend after Labor Day. The weather was gorgeous, so they used a parking lot up on 7th Street, put together a few booths with some food and some crafts, and had such a good time with that and drew some people that they decided to go to the mayor and council, get a little funding, make it a little bigger the next year. They moved it to Trimper's Amusements near the parking lot near here. It grew even more. The weather was spectacular. People started hearing about it. And then the late Mr. Pete Richardson went to the mayor and council, and then Mayor Harry Kelly put him in charge of erecting a Sunfest festival here down at the inlet lot, and the rest is history.
For years, the locals have known when the white tents go up, the Sunfest fun begins. And it's not just for the locals.
It's grown into one of the top festivals in the country. In fact, the American Bus Association and the National Tour Association have ranked Sunfest in the top 100 events in all of the country. So you're going to find arts and crafts down here, you're going to find delicious food and live music from start to finish throughout the event.
Also referred to as the second season or shoulder season, a lot of visitors prefer this time of year.
It takes a while for this ocean to cool off, and so that keeps our temperatures a little milder in the fall season. And, you know, it is not as crowded, let's face it, than the peak summer season is. So it's a more relaxed environment. The locals love it. The beach is still great to go to and enjoy. The boardwalk, of course, all the activities here on the boardwalk. So it's that special little time of year, both for the locals and for those who still want to come to Ocean City.
Sunfest has certainly grown over the years, but at least one thing remains the same. People from near and far look forward to this rite of passage from summer to fall.
I think the future for Sunfest is more of the same, really. I mean, every year they try to bring in new entertainment, new arts and crafts, but it's such a wonderful event. why change it, really? I mean, I think, there'll be tweaks here and there, but the tents are gorgeous. All we need is some great weather and we're good to go.
Well, cooler fall temperatures are definitely in store, and there's a possibility of some rain and wind, but hey, that's what the tents are for, right?
Exactly. And there's so much talent under these tents, works of art and craftsmanship from all over the country. And may I add, there are some talented Delmarvans as well, all with a unique touch and story to tell. George Rainey and Kit Hansen are enjoying retirement. Both worked in corporate America. Both had their share of board meetings. They still meet every morning for a board meeting. They're just a little different these days.
We have our coffee out on our back porch by our pond, and we decide what kind of glass we're going to work with that day, what colors we're going to do, what we have in the what we're planning for the future, and what shows we have coming up, what kind of materials and products we need for those shows.
The products are these glass wind chimes.
What a great way to wake up the day and not knowing in the beginning what you want to do until we sit and talk about it. And then we have all this pretty glass. And it just makes you feel so good when you can see all this pretty glass and you're trying to figure out, should we make a bird or a dolphin or a hummingbird out of this? And it's like, oh.
Once those decisions are made, George and Kit get to work in their separate studios. George's studio is in the backyard, where he works on stained glass. It's something he picked up just a few years ago by watching a tutorial on YouTube.
Looked at all these people from all around the world that had their technique, and I just looked at the techniques that these people have used and fell in love with it.
Kit started making sun catchers with beads after inheriting some old costume jewelry that belonged to an aunt.
So when George started doing some of the stained glass, he started doing some small sun catchers, maybe about this big around. And most of the sun catchers that we see other people doing in shows are just hung from a single hanger at the top. So when George started bringing them out and showing them to me, he said, well, why don't you put some crystals on them like we have in our yard?
And that's how Sandy Hook Art Glass Studio was born. But it didn't stop there. Kit and George then took up what's called fused glass.
I really wanted to do something for Ocean City shows. We do a lot of Ocean City shows, and we anticipated doing Sunfest. So we wanted to make sure that we had something that would give someone who maybe has a condo in Ocean City or someone who's coming to Ocean City for Sunfest, something that had Ocean City, or we say OC, on it to take with them.
That's how they came up with their signature OC wind chime.
So what we'll do now is you'll just take a little dab of glue.
Kit showed me how they make the fused glass wind chimes. She already cut out the pieces that make up the dolphin jumping through the OC. My job was to put them together and glue them to a clear piece of glass that Kit calls the wave.
Oh, it's just like a puzzle.
It's like a puzzle.
Once assembled, the pieces put in a kiln where everything fuses together. Unfortunately, working with George's stained glass didn't go as smoothly. He showed me how to cut the glass with an oil cutter. That seemed to go okay, but when it came time to separate the pieces... Oh!
I broke the wing.
That's when I left the stained glass to the professional. Once George cuts the glass, he grinds the edges, then starts a process called foiling.
And once you foil it, then you join the pieces together, and then you solder it together.
The pieces George and Kit create range from little sun catchers that you can hang in your car to large wind chimes that are up to 3.5 feet from top to bottom. And although keeping up with the demand is hard work, George and Kit say they can't imagine a better way to spend their retirement.
And I think one of the things we really enjoy about it most is not having to answer to anybody else. Always being able to make the decisions ourselves. Do it in the time in which we feel like it's the right time to do it. George likes to work late into the early morning hours. I like to work earlier sometimes. So it's like once we have our morning board meetings, he goes his way out into the studio. I go my way working in the office or out on the porch. And then we get back together again at dinner time.
At 6 o'clock. We get back together at 6 o'clock, and that's the way we do it.
This is George and Kit's first appearance at Sunfest, but they have been preparing all year long.
Wow, what a great duo. But really, that's what Sunfest is all about, bringing people together and celebrating family. Meet Carol and Renee Holland. This mother-in-law, daughter-in-law team runs So Chic Boutique in Berlin, and as you can see from their designs, their mantra is everything bling. From tutus to jewelry, they make unique wares sure to catch you and your daughter's attention this weekend.
Wow, I hope my relationship with my future daughters-in-law is like the one they have.
Yeah, Lisa, we've been showing you how this festival brings families together to shine. We're going to continue that thought with our next artist. As a matter of fact, their crafting medium was meant to shine, literally. You've heard the saying, 2 heads are better than 1. And I can't think of a better example of this than Don and Donna Drew.
We're artists and we do copper sculptures. We do large, pure copper sculpture.
But the loving couple, who've been married for over 45 years, didn't start out as artists. Don was a structural mechanic in the Marine Corps before eventually landing a job with Donna's father at his welding shop.
So I've beaten banged on metal 50 of my 70 years.
And Donna worked in a stockbroker's office. For them, creating art was just a hobby.
We've always done some pieces of art for fun. Don and I don't indulge. We take you a piece of art instead of a bottle of wine when we come to your home for dinner, a piece of art that we've made.
And that's all it was, until they were invited to attend the Ward World Championship as artists. 16 years and almost 1,000 shows later, they're still going strong.
So would you say you make a good team?
So far. For the past 45 years anyway.
At 24/7 and we haven't killed each other yet.
We have respect for each other. She's my best friend. I'm glad she's my wife, but she's my best friend.
And while they have different styles,
he sees the finished product. I have to play with it until I get it like I want.
they collaborate on a lot of pieces.
Over half of our art is she's either made the little birds and I've made the bigger birds, or I made the frame and she made the base.
That teamwork seems to be working out as Don and Donna have created some beautiful works of art. Playing into that beauty is the material they work with.
Copper will last over 100 years. Copper doesn't rust, it doesn't deteriorate, just gets that nice green patina. Copper is a very enduring and a very forgiving metal.
Which is why I felt comfortable trying my hand at making one of their signature dragonflies. First, I traced out the wing design with Donna. Then, I cut them out with Don.
If you're not bleeding when you leave here, you haven't worked very hard.
I then put a crease in the wing, which Don says adds style and stability. After a crash course in soldering, I attached the wings, legs, and body together. We then headed outside to sandblast the wings before hand applying patina to the piece. After a couple minutes of drying, my masterpiece was complete. Not bad for my first attempt. Don and Donna will make hundreds of pieces like this for Sunfest, which they say is their busiest show.
Personally, I enjoy it, and most of the people we meet are very interesting to talk to, and they seem to enjoy our work, and you get a smile, you know, and a little comment. And some people are just like, wow, I've never seen anything like it, you know, that kind of thing. So that makes you feel good.
And Lisa, what's really cool about these copper creations is you can put them either inside or outside and not have to worry about them getting ruined from the elements. And I can proudly say that my dragonfly is now on display in my mother's garden.
Oh, that's so nice. Okay, so we've already shown you what makes this the top art show in the country, but we're just getting started. Still to come on Delmarva Life, we're hitting the boardwalk to share with you some of the sites that'll have you taking a second look and maybe even giving pause for thought, prayer, and reflection.
Plus, what was once the main way to communicate has now become a lost art. See how one local artist is hoping to bring the power of the pen back to life, all with the stroke of a brush.
And given the Ocean City Boardwalk is more than 2 miles long, some of you may want to look for an alternative way to complete the boards. See why 2 wheels may just be the answer you're looking for. That and more when Delmarva Life Ocean City Sunfest 2015 continues.
Delmarva Life is brought to you by Sussex County Federal Credit Union, guiding you to your financial future. Peninsula Regional Medical Center, honored to serve the entire Delmarva Peninsula since 1897. Hertrick family of automobile dealerships, your local York and LG dealers, and State Farm Insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.